The sky turned dark as massive ships appeared above Earth, blocking out the sun like an artificial eclipse. These weren't ordinary spacecraft. They were the pride of the Galactic Empire's fleet, their crystalline hulls shimmering with otherworldly power. Each vessel dwarfed humanity's largest cities, making Earth's own satellites look like tiny specks in comparison. People across the globe stood frozen in fear and awe as they watched through their screens and windows. Traffic stopped in every major city as millions gazed upward at the impossible sight. Children pointed at the sky while their parents held them close, uncertainty gripping every heart. In orbit, the Empire's ships moved with precise coordination, spreading out to form a perfect blockade around the planet. Their engines pulsed with strange energies that Earth's scientists couldn't even begin to understand. Or at least, that's what the Empire believed. Admiral Park stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Imperial Dominion, looking down at the blue planet with cold calculation. His perfectly pressed uniform gleamed with medals and commendations from 100 successful conquests. Earth would be just another notch in his belt, another primitive world brought under Imperial control. "Send the message," he commanded, his voice carrying the weight of absolute authority. "Let these primitives understand their situation." The transmission cut across every frequency, overriding all Earth's communications. Television broadcasts, radio signals, internet connections. Everything carried the same message. Admiral Park's holographic image appeared in homes and offices worldwide, his stern face looming over humanity like an angry god. Meanwhile, in the United Nations Emergency Council chamber in New York, world leaders gathered in unprecedented numbers. The chamber buzzed with nervous energy as representatives from every nation tried to make sense of the situation. Some argued for immediate military response, while others pushed for diplomatic solutions. Secretary General Kim Dae-ho stood at the podium, his knuckles white, as he gripped its edges. Despite his outward composure, beads of sweat rolled down his temple. The chamber fell silent as Admiral Park's hologram materialized above them, twice as tall as a human and radiating arrogance. "People of Earth," Park's voice boomed through the chamber. "Your planet now stands at the threshold of a new era. The Galactic Empire has deemed your world worthy of integration into our domain. Submit to Imperial authority, and you will be granted the privileges of Imperial citizens. Resist, and face extinction." The hologram paused for effect before continuing. "You have 48 standard hours to declare your surrender. After that, we will consider your silence as resistance." The threat in his voice was unmistakable. Murmurs of fear and anger rippled through the assembled leaders. Some nations' representatives were already drafting surrender documents, while others called for immediate military action. The chamber descended into chaos as arguments broke out between different factions. President Lee of the United Korean Republic watched the commotion with practiced calm. He leaned closer to Secretary General Kim, his voice barely a whisper. "Should we tell them?" Kim's eyes never left the hovering hologram as he gave a slight shake of his head. "Not yet," he murmured back. "Let them think they have the advantage." What the Empire didn't know, what almost no one knew, was that Earth had been preparing for this moment for decades. Behind the facade of a developing spacefaring civilization lay capabilities that would shock the galaxy. In secret bunkers and hidden facilities around the world, military commanders watched their screens and waited for orders. They maintained their poker faces, but inside, many felt a surge of anticipation. The Empire had just made its first mistake, underestimating humanity. As the 48-hour deadline began counting down, Earth's visible military forces mobilized in a show of conventional strength. Jets scrambled, missiles were armed, and submarines slipped into deeper waters. It was all for show, a carefully choreographed dance to maintain the illusion of a primitive civilization facing its first interstellar threat. In the council chamber, Kim Dae-ho called for order. "We must present a united front," he declared to the assembled leaders. "The next 2 days will determine humanity's future. I suggest we take some time to consider our options carefully. What he didn't say, what couldn't be said in front of so many people, was that Earth's real response was already in motion. In the darkness of the Kuiper Belt, something stirred. Humanity's secret weapon waited patiently, ready to show the Empire that appearances could be deceiving. As the first hour of the ultimatum ticked away, Admiral Park smiled down at Earth from his command bridge. Like so many conquerors before him, he had no idea he was walking into a trap. The game was only beginning, and humanity was playing for keeps. The story began on a cold morning in March 1975, when Dr. Song Handel stared at her computer screen in disbelief. Deep beneath the Taiwanese mountains, in a secret research facility known only to a handful of people, she had just witnessed something impossible. The quantum particles in her experiment weren't just moving between points, they were vanishing from reality itself. Her hands trembled as she double-checked the readings. The lab's fluorescent lights hummed overhead while her research team gathered around, their faces reflecting the blue glow of multiple monitors. They had been working on quantum teleportation, but this was something else entirely. "Look at this," she whispered, pointing to the data stream. "The particles aren't just teleporting. They're moving through different dimensions. We've discovered dimensional manipulation." The implications were staggering. Within weeks, top scientists and military leaders from around the world gathered in the underground facility. Former enemies sat side by side, united by the magnitude of the discovery. This technology could revolutionize everything: energy production, transportation, warfare. It was too powerful for any one nation to control. For the first time in human history, every major world power agreed to keep a secret. They established the Black Project, a global initiative hidden from the public eye. The cover story was simple. Dr. Song's facility had suffered a catastrophic accident, and she had died in the explosion. In reality, she and her team were moved to an even more secure location beneath the Pacific Ocean. As years passed, humanity made its first official ventures into space. They launched primitive rockets, established a small space station, and sent probes to nearby planets. The galaxy watched with mild interest, seeing nothing but another young species taking its first steps among the stars. But in secret, something far more advanced was taking shape. Hidden shipyards were built throughout the Kuiper Belt, disguised as ordinary asteroids. Quantum technology evolved rapidly under Dr. Song's guidance. The ships they designed broke every rule of conventional physics. Admiral Choi Sun-mai remembered watching the first test flights as a young girl. Her mother had been one of Dr. Song's original team members, and she grew up understanding the weight of the secret she carried. The ships were beautiful, sleek black vessels that could slip between dimensions as easily as fish swimming through water. "They'll never see us coming," her mother had told her, watching a prototype vanish into quantum space. "That's our advantage. The galaxy thinks we're children playing with toys, but we're building something they can't even imagine." The Black Fleet grew slowly but steadily. Each ship was a masterpiece of engineering, incorporating technology that the Galactic Empire would consider impossible for primitives to develop. They used quantum cores instead of conventional engines, dimensional shields instead of energy barriers, and weapons that could strike from multiple realities simultaneously. Admiral Choi took command of the fleet after graduating from the secret Space Force Academy, hidden beneath the Antarctic ice. She was young for such responsibility, but she understood the technology better than anyone else in her generation. She had grown up with it, after all. The fleet's main base was built inside a dwarf planet in the outer solar system. To any observer, it appeared to be just another lifeless rock. But inside, thousands of personnel worked around the clock, maintaining the most advanced ships humanity had ever built. They ran endless drills and simulations, preparing for the day they knew would come. The galaxy was full of empires and federations, all hungry for new territories. Someone would eventually try to conquer Earth. The only question was when. The hardest part was maintaining the deception. Earth had to appear vulnerable, technologically backward, and ripe for conquest. They launched clumsy rockets while quantum ships slipped invisibly through space. They built primitive satellites while operating dimensional communication networks. They acted like a species just beginning to explore space, while their real ships patrolled the outer solar system. Admiral Choi spent countless hours in her command center, reviewing fleet positions and security protocols. The Black Fleet was humanity's ultimate insurance policy, a force that could go from hidden to battle-ready in minutes. Every ship was kept in quantum storage, invisible to conventional sensors, but ready to materialize at a moment's notice. "We're not just building a fleet," she often told her crew during inspections. "We're protecting Earth's right to choose its own destiny. When the time comes, we'll show the galaxy that appearances can be deceiving." That time was approaching faster than anyone expected. As Admiral Choi reviewed the latest reports from her quantum sensors, she could feel the weight of history pressing down on her shoulders. Somewhere out there, an empire was making plans, looking at Earth, and seeing an easy target. They would learn their mistakes soon enough. The Black Fleet waited in the darkness, ready to reveal humanity's greatest secret. When that day came, the galaxy would learn that underestimating Earth was the last mistake they would ever make. The Empire's massive ships began their attack just 1 hour before the deadline expired. Their energy weapons lit up Earth's sky like artificial lightning, turning night into day. The first targets were Earth's satellites and space stations, which shattered like glass under the Empire's superior firepower. Imperial Commander Ra stood on his flagship's bridge, watching the destruction with a satisfied smile. His crew worked efficiently around him, coordinating the attack with practiced ease. On their tactical displays, Earth's orbital defenses appeared pathetically primitive, exactly what they expected from such a backward world. "Look at their weapons," Ra laughed, pointing at an Earth missile that his ships easily vaporized. "Chemical rockets and nuclear warheads. They're fighting a space war with Stone Age tools." The Empire's ground forces began their landing operations outside major cities. Massive transport ships descended through the atmosphere, their anti-gravity systems making them look like floating mountains. They touched down outside Seoul first, then Tokyo, New York, and London. More followed, landing near every major population center across the globe. Earth's military response seemed desperate and disorganized. Fighter jets scrambled to meet the invaders, only to be swatted from the sky like insects. Tanks and artillery pieces fired uselessly at Imperial shields. Soldiers on the ground watched in horror as walking war machines emerged from the transport ships, each one taller than a skyscraper. "Send in the first wave," Ray ordered, his voice carrying nothing but contempt. "And remember, we want their infrastructure intact. The Empire needs this world's resources." In her secret bunker deep beneath Mount Pektu, Admiral Choi watched it all unfold on her quantum displays. Unlike the grainy footage being broadcast to the public, her screens showed perfect, real-time images of every battlefield. She could see the Empire's troops advancing, their commanders confident in their superior technology. Her finger hovered over the quantum communication device that would signal the Black Fleet. Every muscle in her body wanted to give the order, to wipe the smug looks off the Imperial commanders' faces. But she held back, remembering her training. "Not yet," she whispered, watching another city come under attack. "Let them commit everything they have. Let them think victory is certain." Around her, her staff maintained perfect discipline despite the devastating images on their screens. They had trained for this moment for years. They knew the plan. Let the Empire think they had won before revealing humanity's true strength. In New York, Imperial walkers stepped over crushed tanks like a child stepping over toys. In Tokyo, their energy weapons melted through defensive lines with terrible ease. In London, their flying machines darkened the sky, dropping troops into the city center. Commander Ray received regular updates from his ground forces, each one confirming his expectations of an easy victory. "These humans don't even have basic shield technology," he sneered to his bridge crew. "This will be over by dinner. I've conquered primitive worlds before, But these people are particularly pathetic. His tactical officer nodded in agreement. Sir, their strongest weapons can't even scratch our secondary shields. Should we begin the occupation phase? Proceed. Rai ordered. Move our heavy units into their cities. Show them the futility of resistance. In her bunker, Admiral Choi watched the Empire's forces advance deeper into Earth's territories. Her staff monitored quantum sensors that showed exactly how many ships and troops the Empire was committing to the invasion. They were following a familiar pattern, one they had studied and prepared for. Admiral, her executive officer whispered, they've deployed 70% of their ground forces. Their fleet is spreading out to maintain orbital control. Choi nodded slowly. The Empire was making all the mistakes she had hoped they would. They were stretching their forces thin, confident that Earth had no way to strike back effectively. Their arrogance was about to become their downfall. Send the coded update to all Earth forces, she ordered. Tell them to maintain the appearance of desperation. Let the Empire think they're winning at every turn. Around the world, Earth's conventional military forces continued their seemingly futile resistance. They fought bravely, dying in their thousands against the Empire's superior technology. But hidden beneath the surface of defeat, they were executing a carefully choreographed plan. Every retreat drew the Empire's forces further in. Every lost battle encouraged them to commit more resources. Every seemingly desperate counterattack made them more certain of their victory. Admiral Choi watched it all with calculated patience. The time would come to reveal humanity's true power. But not yet. Not until the trap was fully set. Soon, she promised herself, watching another Imperial walker crush a line of Earth tanks. Very soon. The moment Earth had waited for arrived with a simple command from Admiral Choi's quantum communicator. The signal spread instantly through subspace, reaching every hidden installation in the Kuiper Belt. As it activated, dozens of seemingly ordinary asteroids began to change. Massive doors slid open in the rocky surfaces, revealing darkness within. But these weren't ordinary caverns. They were quantum storage hangars, each holding ships more advanced than anything the Empire had ever encountered. The Black Fleet emerged from its hiding places, their obsidian hulls drinking in all light that touched them. The KSS Aegis, Admiral Choi's flagship, was the first to fully materialize. Nearly 3 kilometers long, its surface was perfectly smooth, almost liquid in appearance. No visible weapons marred its lines. No engine ports broke its perfect symmetry. It simply existed, defying every known law of physics. Behind it came the rest of the fleet, hundreds of ships, each one unique in design, but sharing the same impossible black surface. They moved without visible propulsion, sliding between dimensions as easily as fish through water. Quantum energy rippled around them, distorting space itself. Admiral Choi stood on the Aegis's bridge, watching her fleet take formation. Unlike the cramped, utilitarian command centers of Imperial ships, the bridge was spacious and elegant. Holographic displays floated in the air, showing the positions of every ship in real time. All ships, combat formation Delta, she commanded, her voice calm but carrying an edge of anticipation. Show these Empire bureaucrats how humanity really fights. The Black Fleet moved with perfect coordination, forming patterns that seemed to bend reality itself. Each ship knew its place. Each crew member understood their role. They had trained for this moment for decades. On the Imperial flagship, Commander Ru's smug expression vanished as new signatures appeared on his tactical displays. At first, he thought his sensors were malfunctioning. The readings made no sense. Ships appearing from nowhere, moving in ways that should be impossible. What are those? He demanded, pointing at the strange signals. Where did they come from? His tactical officer's hands flew over the controls, trying to make sense of the data. Sir, these signatures, they're not matching any known configuration. They're not even registering as solid matter. More alarms began blaring across the Imperial fleet as their sensors detected the full scale of what was emerging from the outer solar system. Ship after ship appeared, each one a black void against the stars, each one representing technology that the Empire had thought impossible for primitive humans to possess. Impossible, Ra whispered, watching the tactical display fill with more contacts. They're supposed to be primitives. They barely have space flight. But the evidence was undeniable. The Black Fleet approached with unstoppable grace, their formation perfect, their movements synchronized. They made no response to Imperial hails, offered no explanation for their existence. They simply came, silent and purposeful. Admiral Choi allowed herself a small smile as she watched the Empire's fleet react to their presence. Confusion turned to alarm as Imperial commanders realized they couldn't get proper sensor readings on the Black Fleet. Their scans simply passed through the ships as if they weren't there. "Send the signal," she ordered. "Let them see exactly what they're facing." Throughout the Black Fleet, quantum cores powered up to full capacity. Energy readings that Imperial sensors couldn't even begin to understand rippled through space. The ship's true capabilities began to show themselves as weapon ports appeared and disappeared across their hulls, shifting through different dimensions. The Empire's tactical networks were in chaos. Their sophisticated computers tried and failed to classify the threat they were facing. These ships followed no known rules of physics, used no recognized technology. They were facing something entirely new. Commander Ra's confidence had completely evaporated. He watched helplessly as the Black Fleet took up attack positions around his forces. His mighty invasion fleet, which had seemed so overwhelming against Earth's conventional defenses, now looked small and vulnerable. "Orders, sir," his executive officer asked, voice shaking slightly. Before Ra could respond, Admiral Choi's voice cut across all frequencies, carried by quantum communications that the Empire couldn't block. "Imperial Command, this is Admiral Choi of Earth's Black Fleet. You came to our world expecting to find primitives. Allow us to correct that misconception." The Black Fleet's arrival marked the beginning of a new phase in the battle for Earth. Humanity's greatest secret was finally revealed, and the Empire was about to learn a harsh lesson about underestimating their opponents. The Empire's mighty fleet discovered the true meaning of helplessness as the Black Fleet launched its first attack. Their energy shields, which had shrugged off Earth's conventional weapons with ease, proved completely useless against quantum-based weapons that struck from multiple dimensions at once. The first Imperial cruiser vanished in a flash of impossible light as quantum torpedoes phased through its shields like they didn't exist. The ship didn't explode. It simply ceased to exist in normal space, its matter scattered across multiple dimensions. 3 more Imperial vessels suffered the same fate within seconds. Grand Admiral Park stood frozen on his command bridge, watching in horror as his supposedly invincible fleet was torn apart. The Black Fleet's weapons didn't just bypass their defenses, they ignored them completely, as if the most advanced shields in the galaxy were made of paper. "Evasive maneuvers," Park shouted, his voice cracking with panic. "Launch all fighters. Return fire." But the Empire's ships couldn't hit what they couldn't properly target. Their weapons passed harmlessly through the Black Fleet's quantum-shifted hulls. The few hits that did land were absorbed by dimensional shields that operated on principles the Empire's scientists couldn't even begin to understand. On Earth's surface, the battle took an equally dramatic turn. Colonel Yoon Jinnah led the resistance forces from a hidden command center beneath Seoul. Her troops, who had appeared to be retreating in disarray, suddenly revealed their own quantum-enhanced weapons. "All units, execute Pattern Omega," she commanded. "The Black Fleet has engaged. Show them what Earth's ground forces can really do." Imperial walker machines that had been striding confidently through Earth's cities suddenly found themselves under attack from weapons that materialized inside their shields. Quantum bombs phased through their armor, detonating in multiple dimensions simultaneously. The mighty war machines toppled like fallen trees. Imperial troops, who had been advancing with casual arrogance, found themselves caught between precise orbital strikes from the Black Fleet and coordinated ground attacks. Their command structure collapsed as quantum interference cut off their communications with their orbiting ships. "This is impossible," an Imperial ground commander screamed into his dead communicator as another walker exploded behind him. "They're primitives. How do they have this technology?" The answer came in the form of more quantum strikes. The Black Fleet ships moved with impossible grace through Earth's atmosphere, their weapons reaching across dimensions to strike at the invaders. Imperial soldiers watched in terror as their comrades simply vanished, swept away by forces they couldn't comprehend. In New York, Tokyo, London, and cities worldwide, the same scene played out. Earth's desperate defenders suddenly revealed their true capabilities. Quantum weapons materialized inside Imperial strongpoints. Dimensional shifts caused entire enemy formations to phase out of normal space. Colonel Yoon coordinated the counterattack with cold efficiency. Her forces had trained for years for this moment, practicing with weapons that the Empire hadn't known existed. They struck from multiple directions, using quantum technology to appear and disappear at will. "Target their command centers first," she ordered. "Don't let them regroup. Keep them confused and divided." "Sir," Nam's voice was almost gentle now. "Don't make this worse. We've lost. Those black ships could have destroyed us completely, but they're giving us a chance to surrender. We should take it." Outside, the battle, if it could still be called that, was entering its final phase. The Black Fleet had surrounded the remaining Imperial vessels, their obsidian hulls absorbing all light. They waited patiently, their quantum weapons ready but held in check. Admiral Choi's voice cut across all frequencies again, carried by communications technology that the Empire couldn't block. "Imperial forces, you have seen what we can do. We offer you one final chance to surrender. Choose wisely." In the command center, President Lee watched as more surrender signals lit up the tactical display. The Empire's mighty invasion force was crumbling, their illusions of superiority shattered by the revelation of Earth's true power. "Should we tell them everything now?" an aide asked quietly. Lee shook his head. "Not yet. Let them wonder for a while about what else we might be hiding. Sometimes, uncertainty is the best weapon of all." On the Imperial flagship's bridge, Park finally slumped in his command chair, the fight draining from his body. "Send the surrender signal," he whispered, his voice breaking. "Before we lose everything." Captain Nam quickly relayed the order, and the mighty flagship's running lights shifted to indicate surrender. The great invasion of Earth had ended not with a bang, but with a whimper of defeat. The Black Fleet maintained their positions, their crews celebrating silently as victory messages passed through quantum channels. Humanity had kept their secret for decades, waiting for this moment. Now the galaxy would never be the same. The orbital surrender ceremony was unlike anything in human or Imperial history. Admiral Choi chose the location carefully, high enough above Earth for the entire planet to be visible below, but close enough that billions could watch through telescopes and screens. The Black Fleet hung in perfect formation behind the meeting point, their obsidian hulls creating an artificial eclipse against the stars. Grand Admiral Park arrived in a small shuttle, stripped of weapons, and escorted by quantum ships. His once pristine uniform was wrinkled, his medals seeming to mock the Empire's defeat. As he stepped onto the neutral station, where the ceremony would take place, his eyes kept darting to the impossible black ships surrounding them. Admiral Choi waited in the station's main chamber, standing tall in her dress uniform. Unlike the ornate Imperial style, Earth's military clothing was elegantly simple. The only decoration she wore was a small pin showing Earth's new symbol, a quantum spiral wrapped around the planet. "Welcome to the future, Grand Admiral," she said as Park entered. Her voice carried across all frequencies, reaching every screen on Earth and every surviving Imperial ship. "Shall we begin?" The surrender document was old-fashioned, real paper and ink. Humanity had decided that something this historic deserved more than a digital signature. Park's hand trembled slightly as he read the terms, his face growing paler with each paragraph. "This is very generous," he finally said, looking up at Choi with confusion. "You're not demanding reparations. You're not even asking for territory." "We don't need your territory," Choi replied simply. "What we want is understanding, partnership, a new way forward for both our peoples." The actual signing took less than a minute. Park's signature was shaky, but clear. Choi's was bold and confident. With those simple marks, the balance of power in the galaxy shifted forever. After the formal ceremony, Choi led Park to the station's observation deck. Earth hung below them like a jewel, while the Black Fleet performed a perfectly synchronized movement that seemed to bend space itself. "We could destroy your empire," Choi told him quietly. "Our quantum technology is generations ahead of anything you have. But that's not our way. Instead, we offer partnership, equal partnership." Park stared at the fleet in amazement. "How long? How long have you had this capability?" "Long enough," Choi smiled. "We knew someone would come eventually. Thinking we were easy prey, we prepared accordingly." On Earth, celebrations broke out in every city. People who had lived their entire lives keeping humanity's greatest secret could finally speak freely. Scientists emerged from hidden labs, eager to share their discoveries with the galaxy. The diplomatic talks began immediately. Imperial delegations arrived on Earth, their arrogance replaced by burning curiosity about quantum technology. Earth's representatives traveled to Imperial worlds, revealing carefully chosen aspects of their capabilities. In the Space Force Command Center, President Lee watched the proceedings with satisfaction. "A new age begins," he told his staff, "but we must remain vigilant. The galaxy is vast, and the Empire is not the only power out there." The Black Fleet maintained their patrols, a constant reminder of Earth's hidden strength. Their ships became a common sight in Earth's skies, no longer needing to hide their existence. Young people looked up at them with pride, knowing they represented humanity's triumph. Research centers around the world began releasing decades of suppressed innovations. Quantum technology transformed daily life as humanity stepped fully into its true capabilities. The pretense of being a primitive civilization was finally over. Admiral Choi spent the following weeks meeting with Imperial scientists, explaining just enough about quantum mechanics to begin a genuine technological exchange. She watched their faces as they realized how completely they had underestimated Earth. "The galaxy will never be the same," she told her staff during a quiet moment. "But that was always the plan. We didn't just defend Earth. We opened the door to a new era of exploration and discovery." As the sun set on humanity's first month as a revealed quantum civilization, the Black Fleet performed another precision maneuver above Earth's major cities. Their dark hulls caught the dying sunlight, creating a display that reminded everyone, human and imperial alike, that the age of underestimating Earth was over. The future had arrived, and it was both brighter and darker than anyone had imagined. Just like the quantum ships that now protected Earth, humanity's path forward would exist in multiple states simultaneously, peaceful and powerful, generous and guarded, reaching out to the stars while always ready to defend their home. The galaxy would truly never be the same.